As everybody knows by now, Paul George was suspended by the NBA for 25 games due to him violating the league's anti-drug policy. The suspension will begin tonight with the Sixers game against the Pelicans, and he'll be eligible to play against the Bulls on March 25th. I'm not here to talk about Paul George's actions in itself. We only know as much as the reports tell us, and this is a mental health issue. Is it disappointing? Of course. I'm more here so to talk about what this means for the Sixers. Paul George's absence gave the Sixers a $5.8 million credit, and what that means is before Paul George was suspended, the Sixers were $7 million above the luxury tax threshold, and now they're just $1.3 million above it. And this is crucial because the Sixers, above all, they likely want to convert Dominic Barlow and even Jabari Walker to standard NBA deals, and to do that, they would need the wiggle room, and with that, many people were speculating that they would trade Kelly Oubre and or Andre Drummond's expiring salaries. But now, if an offer doesn't present itself, they don't have to dump them because the Sixers already pretty much have this flexibility to keep their role guys but also convert Barlow. Again, though, the Sixers shouldn't, and I don't think they will, change their course of action and go full sell mode just because of a suspension. Paul George's absence on the court is much more unfortunate, though, because he is the team's best player on the defensive end of the floor. He offers great help rotations, he's great at switching, can guard multiple positions, and when you take that out, the Sixers really don't have a lot of great point of attack defenders or a lot of great help defenders aside from Dominic Barlow and Joel Embiid in the right position, and I expect the defense to kind of just fall off a cliff a little bit. I don't think they're going to be like 25th in defensive rating by the end of the season or anything like that, but the defense will certainly drop off. Paul George's offensive impact will also be missed because he guides the Sixers' second units, and now would be a perfect time for Jared McCain or Quentin Grimes to return to form because Paul George's ball handling and ability to create shots, not only for himself but others, has been crucial to kind of keeping the scoring alive whenever Embiid or Maxey sit, and the Sixers are definitely going to miss that. Paul George's absence comes at a really unfortunate time for the Sixers because, as you can see, the Eastern Conference is jam-packed and only just a game or two separates many seeds, and Paul George is going to return with just 10 games left in the regular season. Could the Sixers be in a position where they have a top 6 seed? Sure, but most likely they're going to be fighting for their lives to be out of the play-in, and Paul George's extended absence just makes that a lot harder.
Paul George has been suspended for 25 games without pay for violating the NBA's anti-drug program, according to a statement released to ESPN. The news was first reported by Yahoo Sports and immediately raised serious questions for both George and the Philadelphia 76ers. In his statement, Paul George admitted that he took an improper medication while seeking treatment for a mental health issue. He accepted responsibility for the mistake and apologized to the Sixers organization, his teammates, and the fans in Philadelphia. George also stated that he plans to use this suspension period to focus on improving both his mental and physical condition so he can help the team when he returns. The suspension comes during George's 16th NBA season. At 35 years old, he has been averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, and approximately 3.5 assists per game. While these numbers are not elite compared to his prime years, he has still been a meaningful contributor, especially on the defensive end. Losing him for 25 games is a significant setback for a Sixers team that is currently fighting for playoff positioning in the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia has gone 5-5 in its last 10 games and recently won 2 straight. At the time of the suspension, the Sixers were sitting 6th in the East, but the standings are extremely tight. Teams like the Orlando Magic and Miami Heat are close behind, meaning even a short losing stretch could push Philadelphia out of the playoff picture entirely before George becomes eligible to return. Financially, the suspension is extremely costly for George. Because it is without pay, he will lose approximately $11.7 million in salary. From the team's perspective, the Sixers will receive a luxury tax credit of about $5.8 million, reducing their tax bill significantly. While this may help ownership financially, it does nothing to help the team on the court. This situation also reopens questions about Philadelphia's decision to sign George to a 4-year, $212 million maximum contract in the summer of 2024. At the time of the signing, George was already in his mid-30s with a documented injury history. While the Sixers were under pressure due to Joel Embiid's health concerns and their championship window, the deal now looks increasingly risky given George's declining production, durability issues, and now this suspension. From a basketball standpoint, George has played 27 games this season, starting all of them and averaging 30 minutes per night. His shooting efficiency has been inconsistent, hitting 42% from the field, though he has been solid from three-point range at 38%. He contributes defensively with 1.5 steals per game and provides lineup flexibility as a wing who can guard multiple positions. The Sixers will now need other players to absorb his minutes and responsibilities. Tyrese Maxey has already emerged as the team's primary offensive engine, averaging close to 30 points per game. Joel Embiid continues to anchor the team when healthy, and role players like Quentin Grimes provide defensive value. Still, replacing George's size, experience, and two-way presence will not be easy. Availability has been a concern for George even before this suspension. While he played 74 games in the 2023-24 season with the Clippers, he had not exceeded 56 games in any of the 4 seasons prior. Injuries have followed him throughout the latter part of his career, and this suspension only adds to the narrative that he cannot consistently be relied upon. The league has not disclosed details about the specific substance involved, and it is unlikely that the NBA will release further information. A 25-game suspension suggests that this was viewed as a serious violation rather than a minor or technical error. While mental health treatment is an important and legitimate issue, the league's policies are strict, and players are responsible for ensuring compliance. George's suspension officially began when the Sixers hosted the New Orleans Pelicans. He will be eligible to return with only about 10 games remaining in the regular season, starting with a home matchup against the Chicago Bulls. By that point, Philadelphia's playoff fate may already be decided. Looking ahead, this situation raises broader questions about Paul George's future in the NBA. At 35 years old, even under ideal conditions, he may only have a few productive seasons left. If his performance continues to decline and availability remains an issue, a transition to a reduced role or bench position may be inevitable. For now, the Sixers must focus on staying competitive without him. Whether they can maintain their position in the standings will likely determine how much impact George's return can realistically have. If the team falls out of contention, his suspension could end up defining the season. Ultimately, this is a disappointing development for both Paul George and the Philadelphia 76ers. It disrupts team continuity, damages public perception, and adds uncertainty to an already fragile playoff push. How George responds after returning and how the Sixers adapt in his absence will determine whether this moment becomes a temporary setback or a turning point in the final stage of his career.
Beyond the immediate impact on the standings, this suspension forces the Philadelphia 76ers to confront a deeper organizational issue: long-term stability. The Sixers have spent years trying to balance short-term contention with long-term flexibility, and moves like the Paul George contract highlight the risks of that approach. When a franchise commits over $200 million to a player in his mid-30s, the margin for error becomes extremely small. Any disruption, whether injuries, decline, or disciplinary issues, can quickly derail an entire season. From a roster construction standpoint, George was brought in to serve as a secondary star who could reduce the offensive burden on Joel Embiid and provide defensive versatility on the wing. In theory, that made sense. In practice, his role has been inconsistent. He is no longer a primary scorer, yet his salary reflects that expectation. This disconnect between role and contract value is something front offices must anticipate, especially when dealing with aging stars. The Sixers now face a critical stretch without him. The Eastern Conference is unforgiving, and small losing streaks can have outsized consequences. With Miami, Orlando, and other teams hovering closely, Philadelphia cannot afford prolonged inconsistency. The burden will fall heavily on Tyrese Maxey, who has already taken a major leap as a scorer and leader. While Maxey has proven capable offensively, asking him to compensate for George's absence on both ends of the floor is a significant challenge. Joel Embiid's role also becomes more complicated. His health has always been the determining factor in Philadelphia's ceiling, and losing a veteran wing places even more pressure on him to dominate consistently. That added strain could increase injury risk, something the Sixers must manage carefully if they hope to survive into the postseason. Defensively, George's absence is particularly concerning. While his offensive numbers may no longer stand out, his ability to guard multiple positions remains valuable. He often took on difficult perimeter assignments, allowing others to conserve energy. Without him, defensive responsibilities will be redistributed, potentially exposing weaknesses in matchups against elite wings across the conference. There is also a psychological component to consider. Suspensions, especially ones tied to violations of league policy, can disrupt locker room chemistry. While George publicly accepted responsibility, teammates are still left to adjust to sudden changes in roles and expectations. Maintaining morale during this period will require strong leadership from both players and coaching staff. On an individual level, this moment may represent a turning point in Paul George's career. At this stage, legacy is no longer shaped by peak performances, but by reliability, professionalism, and contribution to winning environments. This suspension adds another complication to a career that has already been defined by near misses, injuries, and transitions between teams. Historically, players in their mid-30s rarely regain lost momentum after extended absences, unless they reinvent themselves. For Paul George, that reinvention would likely mean embracing a more streamlined role, focusing on defense, spot-up shooting, and leadership rather than high-usage scoring. Whether he is willing or able to make that shift remains an open question. The financial aspect also cannot be ignored. Losing nearly $12 million is not insignificant, even for a player on a max contract. While George will remain financially secure, this loss underscores how costly mistakes